All right, in this video, we're going to talk about the structures that ultimately collect the urine that has been produced by the kidneys and move that urine outside of the body. So, as the urine is being collected, it is going to ultimately go into these tube-like structures that are known as ureters. So the ureters are going to collect the urine, but notice that they don't just passively let the urine drain into the bladder. They are going to help move the urine by peristalsis. The inner mucosa of the ureters is going to be lined with a transitional epithelium. We'll talk more about that when we get to the bladder. The muscle layer is going to consist of smooth muscle, and it is going to consist of both a longitudinal and circular layer of that smooth muscle. And then finally, you have the outer adventitia, which is going to be made up of collagen and fat. Ultimately, the ureters are about 30 centimeters long. They are going to be draining their urine that's made by the kidneys into the urinary bladder. So it collects urine from both the right and left ureters. In females, it lies anterior to the uterus, posterior to the pubic bone, and anterior to the rectum. While in males, the anatomy is similar, but you don't have the uterus present, and you have instead the prostate that is inferior to the bladder. The peritoneum is going to lay superiorly to the bladder. Technically, it's going to be a retroperitoneal organ because it would be found behind the peritoneum, but it is the roof of it or dome that's covering it is going to be made up of the peritoneum. The inner muscle is known as the detrusor muscle. It contracts with significant force to help propel urine out of the bladder, but that strength can diminish with age as well. You have two ureteral openings, so this is where the urine from the ureters are actually entering into the kidney. Then you'll see that they are going to be right on the edge corners of the trigone. This is going to be the triangular region that is going to lead into the urethral structure. So you have the internal urethral sphincter and an external urethral sphincter. The internal urethral sphincter is going to be made up of smooth muscle, while the external urethral sphincter is going to be made up of skeletal muscle. I mentioned already that you have it anterior to the uterus in females, and the prostate being inferior to the bladder in males. If you look at the structure, you'll notice that the interior surface is made up of transitional epithelium. It's called transitional epithelium because it's suited very well for large volume fluctuations. So when it's empty, it's going to resemble more columnar epithelium, but when it's stretched, it transitions, hence the name, to a more squamous appearance. Volumes that this can extend to can be from nearly 0 to as much as 500 to 600 milliliters in adults. The lamina propria is going to lie deep to the transitional epithelium, and then you'll see that the submucosa is going to be deep to that structure. Voluntary control of the external urethral sphincter is a function of the pudendal nerve, which arises from the sacral region of the spinal cord, traveling via the S2 and S4 nerves of the sacral plexus. Micturition is the proper term for urination. In addition to the pudendal nerve, the hypogastric and pelvic nerves also play a role in the function of micturition. With voluntary micturition, requiring intact spinal cord and functional pudendal nerve arising from the sacral micturition center. So the voluntary micturition is going to be the conscious response that allows you to hold urine in when you have that urge to go, where if you don't have voluntary control, then it's going to be more of a reflex that just triggers when this is going to ultimately go urinate. The urethra, you can see the structure here. It's the only structure that is going to be significantly different in males versus females. It begins inferior and central to the two ureteral openings at the base of the bladder. Then it's going to track both posteriorly and inferior to the pubic symphysis. Proximal urethra is going to be lined by transitional epithelium, but then the terminal portion is going to be transitioned into a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelial type. Voiding is going to be regulated by the internal urinary sphincter. As I mentioned before, it's going to be a smooth muscle and therefore is going to be involuntary, but the external urinary sphincter is going to be the skeletal muscle, thus voluntary control. The female urethra orifice is going to be embedded in the anterior vaginal wall, inferior to the clitoris, but superior to the vaginal opening. The urethra is going to be shortened in length compared to males. This short length of about 4 centimeters means that there's less of a barrier to urinary tract infections in females versus males, which is longer, and so there's a longer distance for bacteria to travel in order to get into and establish themselves in the urinary tract. In the males, it's going to be divided into 4 regions. So you have the pre-prostatic urethra, which is just very short, is going to be incorporated into the bladder wall. So you see that portion right here. Then you have the prostatic urethra. This is going to be the portion that goes through the prostate gland, which you see here. This is going to also be where you receive sperm via the ejaculatory ducts and secretion from seminal vesicles. Then you have the membranous urethra, which is going to pass through the deep muscles of the perineum, and it's going to be surrounded by the urethral sphincters. Finally, you have the spongy urethra. That is this portion here. That's going to be where it exits from the tip of the penis after passing through the corpus spongiosum of the penis. All right, I hope that was useful, and I will talk to you next time.